Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Great to be here with you for the start to a fresh week here on the Cabral Concept. Excited to be joining you for this Motivation and Mindset Monday, where remember, it's not just about getting you psyched up for a brand new week, but it's actually about giving you actionable items that you can move forward with towards your goals. And if we move forward towards our goals, in that process, we become a whole new person, which is actually worthy and you feel deserving of your dreams, of your goals. And that is how all of this works in life. So again, we'll be talking about this today, but we have to have that goal in the first place. And then what I want to do is share with you how I've learned over the years to move faster towards your goals. So today, though, this is a big one, and that's because over the past month or so, I've been sharing with you my brand new updated 12-week year. Again, how I've kind of used this over the years, why I think that this is the best version to date, how to throw out your to-do list, use a calendar instead. So if you haven't checked out those shows, simply go to stephencabral.com/podcast, click on the Mindset and Motivation Monday tab. You'll be able to go to all past Mindset Motivation Monday, or for those specific shows, we'll try to link them up here today. Today's episode 2166. You can go to stephencabral.com/2166 if you haven't checked those out yet. If you've been taking some time over the holidays, I understand it, kind of getting ready now, getting geared up. But what I want you to know is that if you focus on 10 different goals all at the same time, the likelihood you achieve any of those is very low. But if you narrow your focus and choose one, maybe two goals and see them through to completion, the likelihood you achieve those goes up dramatically, much more than 10x or 100x, because you can only focus your attention and your time on so many different things. So now the decision comes to, how do you decide faster? How do you decide what goal is the best goal for you? I kind of went through that before. But then also, when you make that decision, now you need to know, okay, well, what plan of action should I take? And today I want to go over how to choose the right plan of action. I'll give you an example that a lot of people are going to be choosing for the new year. Again, it's part of our forte of what we do, which is the wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, right? So it's basically, a lot of people say, well, you know, I want to get over my autoimmune issues. I want to get over this. I want to get over that. I want to live longer. And I think they're all amazing goals. So what we do is we just simply chop down the process. We block and tackle, as they say. So it's saying, okay, have you removed, you can do lab testing first, of course, but have you removed heavy metals? Yes or no? And you just kind of answer that question. Okay, if not, we do that. Is there a gut imbalance? If there is, okay, then we do the CBO protocol, or we do the Parapro support protocol, whatever it might be, and say, okay, next, or the hormones balanced. Okay, the hormones aren't balanced, so we work on estrogen dominance or low testosterone or whatever it might be, right? So it's like you just kind of work the line, but you still need to know, how do I work on these things? How do I decide what to do at a faster rate? So I'm going to share that with you, exactly what we do and what I've been doing now for many, many years. And again, I am by no means the picture of perfection when it comes to setting goals and achieving goals. I'm learning just like you. I'm in this process every single day, but I've been at it for a while. I've been doing this for quite some time. And in terms of goal setting and trying to goal achieve, I would say now it's been somewhere around 15 to 20 years when I first learned this. Definitely 20 years ago, I learned it, but that doesn't mean I was implementing it or implemented it very well. 15 years ago, definitely I was reading and had read hundreds of books on this process and implementing at a very quick rate. But again, that doesn't necessarily mean your goals come true right away, because sometimes it just takes longer, right? It's difficult to graduate with a 4-year degree faster than 3 years. You can do it in 3 because you can take, if you don't take summer vacations and you take a class over winter break, believe it or not, well, you can get another year done, because when you're at a university, you're taking 3 months off or so for the summer, and you're taking a month off for winter break. So it's actually not difficult necessarily to graduate a 4-year degree in 3. Can you do it in 2? Well, that's a whole lot more difficult, right? So some of these things do have a timeline to them. So I don't want you to get frustrated. All right, now let's get into it. So I look at it like this. How do we decide faster? Well, there's 2 things that you have to decide right away. And the first is, what is it that you want? And I know that might seem like a really strange question to start with, but you need to get really clear on what you want. And that means you need to know your outcome. So we'll be doing an example today on getting to your ideal weight. I'm going to be talking about that over the next couple of weeks. And the reason is, I just did a social media post about BMI. And achieving a healthy BMI. And I've talked about BMI many times before. So if you don't know what it is, you can search it right at stephencabral.com/podcast, and then just type in BMI or body mass index, and you'll find it. And, again, when I was a young personal trainer, I got it. I understood that BMI, is not, I didn't go by it at all because we were so focused on body fat. And again, I don't want to turn this into that podcast. I'll talk about this a little later in the week. But what I realized was that people were equating their self-worth with their BMI or their weight. And that's not what it's meant to be in any way, shape, or form. And also, most of the people in that 1%, because it applies to 99% of people, kind of took offense to it, even though it was stated that they're in the 1%. So I get it, I understand, but we have to understand as practitioners, and probably about 25% of the people who listen to the Cabral concept are practitioners. So we can't put ourselves always in the same place as working with a client or patient. When 70% of people are overweight and 40% are obese, and we know that the top 4 causes of mortality are directly linked to being overweight: type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, which causes stroke, and cancer, can cause stroke, and cancer. And if we help people lose the weight, almost more than anything else, like you can help someone rebalance their gut, you can help them remove heavy metals, but if they're still 50 pounds or more overweight, well, it's not moving the needle as much as if you help them lose that 40, 50 pounds. Okay. So again, I'm just using this as an example today, not saying that everybody needs to lose weight. I'm certainly not saying that. But if the goal is health, if the goal is anti-aging and longevity, almost nothing moves the needle faster. Okay, so let's just put the goal aside. You can choose in your goal, but I'm going to use that as the example today. So you have to know your outcome. So if your outcome is, say, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds. Great. So now you know your outcome. But there's a second part to this. What are you willing to pay for it? And most people's mind jumps right to money. Right? So you might be thinking, okay, well, what's this going to cost me? You can think that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's part of the equation, but money is only part of the equation. What are you willing to pay for it? Because it's besides money, it comes down to time. Are you willing to actually put in the time? Are you willing to deal with the frustrations and obstacles along the way to getting it right? Because the chances are that you find one plan and knock it out of the park the first time you try is very low. But the good news is you probably tried at least a half a dozen different diets before, right? So you know parts that work, parts that don't work, etc. So again, no matter what your goal is, let's say you're starting a second job. Are you willing to have less leisure time, less time on social media, less time watching TV, because you're going to be making social media posts to get yourself out there. You're going to be studying. You're going to be whatever it might be, right? Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to forego a little extra sleep for the next 3 months or so while you accomplish something? So it's just all these different things you have to understand. Are you willing to pay the price? Now, first you have to know the price, but once you know it, whatever it is, are you willing to pay that? We'll come back to that in just a moment. All right, so here are my strategies, how I go through. I'm going to go through them pretty straightforward. I'm always happy to take your questions, so just let me know. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would love you to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. We put out new videos every single day, and of course, we want to hear what videos you want to hear about next. On social media, on Instagram, you can do the same. All right, so the first one is this. If you have too many options, your mind says, this is overwhelming, we're not going to be able to figure out, that's it, forget about it, just move on, right? So we know this in social psychology, behavioral psychology. Never give yourself or anyone else more than 2 to 3 options, okay? So if you're thinking about deciding on dinner at night, right? If you give someone 2 options, it's much easier to decide. 3, becomes a little bit more complicated, but doable. 4 or 5 restaurants or 4 or 5 meals, too many, right? So narrow it down, 2 to 3 options maximum, and then you're going to make your decision. So we're using weight loss as an example here today. So you're going to give yourself just a couple of options. You're going to say, okay, am I going to do this on my own with an online weight loss program, online exercise program? Am I going to do this with a personal trainer, virtually or in person, or am I going to join a gym? Right? So it's like you just have to decide, okay, those are my options. Let's say those are your options. Most people choose one of those. Which one do you want to do? And then we'll start to move down, okay? So the next one is, how much time will it take? All right, so you've got your options. Now you have to decide, how much time is it going to take? All right, that's basically the bottom line. Now, you can start to play around with the exercise part to this, because you're going to say, okay, well, if I do it at home, I'm going to save an hour a day or an hour in my workout days because I don't need to commute to the gym or to my personal trainer. Okay, so that works. So then it makes your decision from the first one a little bit easier. Now you say, okay, well, should I do virtual personal training or an online exercise program, more general, meant for everyone with this specific goal? Okay, so again, it makes it much, much easier. For diet, probably not going to take any additional time. Like, that's the nice thing. It's not going to take any additional time because you are either going to order food, just healthier versions, or you're going to make your own, and you were already making food before, right? So it's like that doesn't take a whole lot more time. It just takes the knowledge set to say, okay, these are the foods on my plan. So that, I think that's pretty much straightforward. But if you say, you know what, I think I'm going to actually be more accountable and get better results if I work with an expert. Let's say I think I'll be more motivated. Maybe if I go to a gym or I go to a personal trainer. Now you just have to dedicate, okay, do I have the time and am I willing to pay the price for that time? Which means, am I willing to actually spend that 2 hours or an hour and a half, 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll say, right? And the weekend, you can do something on your own. So that's what you have to ask yourself, because it might take you, again, 20, 30 minutes to get into your workout, 45-minute workout or so, 20, 30 minutes to get home. So just think about it, right? So you just say, how much time will it take? And then write it down. So the thing is this, a lot of us try to keep all of this in our head. I'm telling you right now, your decision-making process will become so much easier when you put pen to paper. Now, yes, you can keep a note in your phone, any of those things. I use giant Post-it notes in my office. I journal in a journal. I write all these things down, and it just makes things much more clear because you can come back to it and then you don't have to start the thought process again. You're already moved halfway through it. All right. So the next one is this. How much does it cost, right? So how much more does it cost? Well, let's think about the main things for, let's say a lot of people in a weight loss plan are going to be diet and exercise, right? Nutrition, exercise. So what's your new diet going to cost more than your previous, right? So don't think of it as, so a lot of people will do our functional medicine detox. And they say, well, it costs $99 for the 7 days. And I said, well, sure, that's the actual price of it. But for the first 2 days, all those 4 shakes are covered. So there's no expense for food there. Then all of your breakfast is covered, and then your mid-afternoon shakes as well for 7 days. So, what does that typically cost? Because the cost differential is what you typically spend versus what you won't have to spend, and then what the actual thing costs. So again, I'm not talking about the functional medicine detox today, but that's how you have to look at it. So for most people going on a healthy diet, it might be an extra $10 a day. It might be an extra $5 a day. I don't know what it will be for you to choose those specific foods because I don't know specifically what you're eating right now. But most likely $35 a week extra, maybe $70 at the most. So then you say, okay, well, what is that over 4 weeks? Well, it's $140 to $280 or so, right? So is that doable, right? Is that actually doable? Because it may or may not be. So you have to think about that budget-wise. Now, you can definitely not spend any extra on food, and I've done that many times. I have a podcast. We'll see if we can link it up today at 2166 on how to eat healthy for like less than $10 a day. Like, I have a whole podcast on that. So we'll link that up because I actually don't have the number. So I'll link that up today at stephencabral.com/2166. Now, the exercise part, again, there are a lot of online videos that you can check out. We, inside of Equalife, will eventually be giving those to our specific members. But there's a lot of programs that you can get complimentary. You can buy a book for $10, $15. You can do an online personal training program for like $79 or $100. You can meet with a virtual personal trainer for a couple $100 a month or in person. So there's a lot of factors. A lot of the reasons why people hire a one-on-one coach is the accountability. I learned that many years ago. Once a client is already in shape, they got to their goals, they're still working with a personal trainer. The reason is they're just much more likely to keep their appointment and get in a great workout if they have a coach. And that's no different for health coaching, nutrition, dietetics, exercise, etc. So just think about that. And so that's the cost. Then the fourth one here is there value? Meaning like, so there's an extra cost to eating well. Maybe that's $35 a week, $140 a month, extra than what you're doing right now, okay? So is that $140 add-on worth it? Or meeting with a personal trainer twice a week, and again, I don't know what that's going to cost you, but for a few $100s a month, is that worth it for you? Meaning, is there value? And yet, only way you can really ask yourself that is, and I'm going to move this towards the end, so I don't want to give it all away. But if meeting with a personal trainer or spending the extra $140 on nutrition per month, if that were to get you to lose the 50 pounds and get you to your goal weight for overall improved health, ease of movement, less pain in the joints, less inflammation, et cetera, better sleep, better energy, right? I could go on, less chance of all-cause mortality. Would that be worth it? Right? And so that's basically how you answer the value question. That's very important. And that's subjective. That's why I'm not here to give you that answer here today. But before we just say yes or no, let's look at what are the possible downsides. So you always have to ask yourself, well, let's say I invest the $140 a month in good, healthy food. And what if it didn't work out? Was it worth it? And so that's really what you have to look at, is the extra $140, if it doesn't work out, worth it? And I look at it as, well, that's not a lot of downside right there. Like, not a lot of downside. The only way there's a lot of downside with some of these nutrition plans is if they wreck your metabolism. So a lot of these zero carb, super low carb diets, especially with women, will very much hurt their metabolism after about 6 weeks. And we've seen that. Again, you can simply run a stress hormones mood and metabolism test to see that if it's disrupted your thyroid, cortisol levels, estrogen dominance, et cetera. We don't make these things up. This is clinically verifiable. Men, it doesn't happen to as much, but certainly it still does. 1 out of 10 men will still end up with low thyroid, functionally low thyroid, lower testosterone because of this, et cetera. It's a greater stress in the body. So again, we'll use low carb in the beginning, but then it transitions out of it. So for the most part, if you're following a healthy nutrition plan, there's just not a lot of downside overall. I mean, there just isn't, because you're eating better quality food, typically healthier food. That's the goal. So the downside, though, is, okay, you lost the money invested, but if you were willing to make that trade for the potential outcome and you learned from that experience and you didn't do anything negative to your body, might not be a lot of downside. Now, if there is a lot of downside, don't get me wrong, then that's something to look at and weigh those opportunity cost benefits as well. The second and last one is this. You have to ask yourself, what are the odds this works out, right? What are the odds that this plan works out? The diet and exercise plan in this example, right? What are the odds? Is it 50-50? Is it 20-80 that it probably won't work out? Or is it more like 60-40? I would say if you're investing a decent amount of money, that's considerable to you, and a decent amount of time, and there's going to be some, challenges and stress involved, I would say keep looking for the plan that gives you a better than not chance of it working. And you might say, well, of course, right? But I don't know that that's true for everyone. I think a lot of people they're just guessing, right? They're throwing stuff against the wall, like, hopefully this works because a friend of mine told me that this worked great for them. I think we just have to be careful with that, because then what happens is it leaves you jaded for the next program that you may need to try that actually may work. So just make sure you believe, okay, the only person that matters is you, that you believe that you have a better than not chance of this working out. And that, again, knowing that you'll probably have to tweak it along the way, that's normal, right? That's normal. But you'll be learning and growing and making progress along the way. And you'll know, by the way, you'll know anyways within 6 weeks if it's working or not. All right, the last one is this. Assuming that your plan will help you achieve your goals, right? That's a better opportunity than not, more likely than not. how committed are you? This is the big one. Because you can have the right plan. It works financially. It works time-wise. You can make it all happen. The greater likelihood that it will work than it won't. But if you are not at least a 9 out of a 10 for commitment to see it through, I really don't believe that you should get started with it. And here's why. The likelihood it works out is very little, because you can have the right plan, you can have the right coach, but if you don't put in the work that it takes in order to achieve the goal, it's just going to leave you just so much more frustrated in the long run. So here's the thing. You basically have to ask yourself, again, let me go right back to the very beginning. What do you want? Know your outcome. Okay, that's what do you want? And then what are you willing to pay for it? And that comes back to this last one. I mean, how much of a priority is it for you? Because if it's a priority, you can make sure that you can make it happen even if you don't believe in yourself as much. So meaning like if you're committed to this and you want it to happen, but you just don't believe yet as much in yourself, that's normal. At that point, I definitely recommend joining an accountability group or hiring an integrative health practitioner or a personal trainer or a nutritionist, a coach of some type that can make sure you're checking in with them a couple times a week. Because what's going to happen is they're going to push you through the hard parts, right? Everything's easy. Everything's fun in the first few weeks when you're first getting started. But what happens when you start to hit an obstacle or so? That is when, if it's important to you, a 9 out of 10, right? And then you're saying, I'm committed, but you just don't necessarily believe in yourself or even the plan as much. But you still say, hey, this is giving me my best option to make this happen, right? And that's what you have. Then sometimes, again, finding that accountability coach, that person to push you through can make the difference. It really can. So hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Definitely re-listen if it's going to help you kind of move through the process. But it's very systematic, meaning narrow down your options, okay? Decide how much time extra than what I'm already doing now is it going to take? How much is it going to cost more than what I'm already spending, right? Do I see value in this? Because if you don't, again, move on to the next option because you don't see value in it, so you're not going to stick with it. Then find out what are the potential downsides, okay? Because there's always downsides. If they're not that bad, good, keep moving forward. The next is, what are the odds that it actually works? Because it might not have a lot of downside, but it might not potentially work. A lot of these crazy diets out there, they may work for the first few weeks or even a couple months, and then it's detrimental in the long run. So what are the chances are that it works? And then assuming all of this looks good, what is your commitment level and your excitement level to make this happen? And if it's not a 9 out of 10, then either get an accountability coach that's going to help push you through, right? Or a part of a group that you can feel accountable to, or again, move on to a different goal because maybe right now just isn't the right time for you. So hoping all the best for you in this new year. If this show was helpful, please, of course, do feel free to share it with anyone you believe it could serve. And of course, leave a comment. Let us know what we can answer in terms of questions and what other future shows you'd like to hear. Take care, everyone. Have an amazing day. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's show. And I'm sure you probably heard the intro to the show. But if you didn't, I just want to reiterate that after years of planning and trying to get to this stage, I'm so excited to announce Equilife is now going to be offering free at-home lab testing. Yes, free. That means you're going to be able to start with our $299 minerals and metals test, where you learn about your stress levels, your electrolytes, all the minerals that we're looking at in your body. We're looking at trace minerals and heavy metals as well. We're going to look for lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic, and also aluminum. You're also going to get a readout of what your results mean because you're going to be getting a 30-minute coaching consultation, just one-on-one with you and one of our Equilife coaches. Plus, you're going to get a personalized plan built just for you. It honestly doesn't get any better than this. It truly doesn't, and this is why I'm doing it. I told my team that if we can find a way to just break even, not even make any money, I want to be able to get these labs to people That was my whole goal, because it was life-changing for me at 19 years old. It introduced me to functional medicine and integrative health, and I want to do the same for you as well. So when you head on over to stevencabral.com/shop, you're going to see a banner right there. Click on the banner. It's going to teach you more about our iBone membership rewards program. This is for people that see the value in using good quality nutritional supplements on a monthly basis. All it takes is basically using the daily nutritional support or the daily activated multivitamin and then a vitamin C product or a magnesium or an omega-3, whatever you like. Again, most people are using at least 2 to 3 different products. Why not use those same 2 to 3? You can get them through Equalife, an extra 15% off on subscription, and we'll ship you a new at-home lab test every 3 months on us. Every 90 days on subscription, we will be shipping you a free at-home lab test. I'm telling you right now, I've been looking forward to doing this for years, didn't know how I can make it happen, and this is it. So super excited about this. Check out all the details at stevencabral.com/shop and just email us with any questions. Take care, everyone.